One second. Hello and welcome to Sugar, Silk and Stretch, a unique boxing podcast brought to you exclusively by Ace Podcast Nation. I slightly messed up that intro, but what are you going to do? My name is Ben Doughty.
And I'm Gary Stretch. Good evening.
We're waiting for the cyclopean. He should be here at some point soon. He said he was coming. What can you do? He's popular, Somebody commented the other day, they said I subbed for more of the Pirate. So they basically said I subscribe because I want to see more of the Silk, But until he gets here, Gary, basically, I went to a press conference on Wednesday because, as you will be aware, we bang the drum, right? Or the industry bangs the drum about the first undisputed world heavyweight championship since Lennox Lewis and Evander Holyfield in like a quarter of a century nearly. And we knew for a fact that within an astonishingly short amount of time, the political machine was going to eviscerate that situation and start splitting the belts up again. Here comes the Silk, and so now we've got this situation whereby that already sounds like he's echoing back again because he's fucked his sound up again. Why is it echoing, Silk? We can't have that.
Oh my God.
You're not twice as sweet as chocolate. You're just twice as echoey.
Not good. I'll be back. I'll figure it out.
Okay, see in a bit. Yeah, a bit like last time week, yeah?
Yeah.
Because I don't need to hear myself more than once. And you definitely don't.
So we all say. Okay, I'll be back. Let me see what I can
Hang on. It sounds okay now.
No, it doesn't.
Okay.
Hey, Gary, what's up?
Hey.
Okay, ciao, guys. Let me see what I can do.
All right, try and come back in. You got it last time, Silk. So, as I was saying, Gary, what happened, as you're probably aware, it's not fighting for a vacant IBF title, Joshua and Dubois, right? What's the problem with your thing now? Is everything all right?
No, I'm just making sure it's okay.
Okay. Yeah. So they're not fighting for the vacant IBF title, which Alexander Usyk has held for a while, and he's the only heavyweight champion worth taking seriously. Obviously, until he loses that status in the ring or he retires. But what they did was they upgraded Daniel Dubois to the status of IBF heavyweight champion of the world based on the fact that he became the interim champion when he beat Filip Hrgovic on the undercard of Fury Usyk, and then now he's been upgraded to full champion. He's defending that title against him, and while we're waiting for the Silk, I want to show you the sheer hyperbole that Michael Buffer announced it with at the press conference. Bear with me a second, Gary. Just have a look at this and tell me what your take on this is. Where is it? Okay, there we go.
All right. Ladies and gentlemen, now officially the Riyadh season card, Wembley edition, main event. 12 rounds of boxing, the IBF Heavyweight Championship of the World. At this time, let's welcome champion and challenger to the stage. First, with an outstanding record of 21 victories, 20 of the 21 by knockout, 16 KOs in his career in 4 rounds or less. Ladies and gentlemen, he only has 2 defeats from London, England. Please welcome the now 2-time heavyweight world champion, the newly crowned, officially IBF heavyweight champion of the world, Dynamite, Daniel Dubois!
Daniel Dubois has stopped Phil Davis and picked up the biggest win of his career. 8-0 Queens.
Now, what the hell is that, Gary?
I've never heard of a title fight introducing the champion first, even.
Well, that was another telling thing, wasn't it?
It's ridiculous. I mean, I understand. I listened to the promoters discuss. I listened to Barry Hearn and Lester Frank, the stringent rules of the governing bodies who have these mandatories, and someone's waiting in line. But reality is that as a boxing fan, and as the world has been waiting to identify with a champion, to take that away within less than a month is a pretty sad state of affairs. For what? you know.
And you know, it's interesting because Johnny Nelson berated that situation when I interviewed him at the press conference on Wednesday, and I was glad to hear someone like him who's sometimes been accused of being a company man and a mainstream guy who toes the line. He said this is a joke. He said, you know, the sanctioning bodies are greedy and stupid. They shoot our sport in the foot. You know, he was really vocal about it, saying what a load of nonsense it was, which was good.
It's also messed the system up because imagine they could have put this amazing British heavyweight fight, which is all it needed to be to promote.
Yeah,
Everybody knows that Josh was not champion. They all know that was coming off 2 losses as well as 2 victories, but everybody knows that they're not fighting for the world championship. So they would have put a great British heavyweight fight, and the winner fights the undisputed.
yeah,
You know?
exactly that. You know, and I think.
Keep it clean.
And can you imagine heavyweight? I don't want to get into it too much, but can you imagine heavyweight history if Ali and Foreman had not been fighting for the undisputed championship, but you'd had Norton fighting somebody for, you know, an interim title, and, you know, have Jimmy Young fighting for something else, Joe Fraser still, you know. Can you imagine that golden era of the heavyweight division and that kind of whole kind of magnitude of boxing history if they'd applied the same rules today that they do? But did you notice as well, Michael Buffer heralded Daniel Dubois as a 2-time heavyweight champion? Most people probably don't even know how that works, Gary. What it is, he won the WBA interim title versus Trevor Bryan, remember in the high school for Don King?
Right.
And then, so that was his first time as heavyweight champ. And then, because he was interim stroke full IBF champion most recently, that he was calling that man. You know who the world heavyweight champion is. You know who that man's name is. You know where he lives and everything. And there we are in London at the O2 doing this press conference. Sorry, at Wembley at the OVO Arena. And there's a press conference where the man who's actually got a lot of iconic status as an announcer in this sport is saying the 2-time heavyweight champion of the world. We have to put a stop to this nonsense, don't we? We have to have some hold on what we actually say for the sake of hyperbole, surely.
Some kind of accountability, because, I mean, we've just all witnessed the unification fight of 2 best heavyweights in the world, both undefeated, both beat foes of each other who beat others. And like, it was a very simple fight for the unified finally, and then now to announce someone else as a champion it's madness. But this is the sport we're in, you know. It doesn't. It does make the public look stupid for me.
We hope the main man, Turkey Al Sheikh, we're hoping he's going in another direction, aren't we? And you
what happened to the belt he had?
I don't know. I mean, you seem to think, with good reason, that he's perhaps going to push this idea of there's a sanctity of one champion, or there's only one championship belt which actually has the credible status, and the rest of them the power base of the sanctioning bodies may may dwindle then, which I think most of us would like to see that happen.
If they establish the one belt, and then obviously Fury or Usyk hold it within that bout. Yeah. Whoever wins that bout keeps it, and that's the belt everyone goes after. And I think the other belts, if it's done in the correct way, will become less and less valuable if it's done right and maintained. And as long as Turkey Al Sheikh's not a flash in the pan, he's not going to get bored in 6 months, a year, 2 years, and move on to something else. If he sticks to this unification system where he's putting real fighters together, he doesn't mind paying for it, fights that people wouldn't normally take, and he does find this one belt that is the credible belt, then that's the belt everyone's going to be recognized as the best heavyweight in the world, and the rest will just be a bunch of belts, you know. Be like having a British title or Southern Area title, you know. There's one British champion.
And I think you know, the fact, if the public kind of and people in the industry where possible stand firm on the idea that Usyk is the heavyweight champion of the world, and it doesn't matter what the organisations say, and we keep that perspective, I think that's important. You know, obviously it doesn't help when you got someone like Eddie Hearn saying, "Big day ahead. Can I get a 3-time from anybody?" You know, because Eddie Hearn can't possibly believe Anthony Joshua will be a genuinely a 3-time heavyweight champion of the world if he beats Daniel Dubois, which, you know, he probably will he probably will beat Dubois, as one would think.
One would think. I mean, it's funny when you think of Usyk and Fury fighting again, and as long as that goes ahead. But two-time heavyweight, three-time heavyweight, and both Joshua and Dubois have both been beat by the same guy, who's fighting for a different belt, and
Yeah,
it doesn't make sense, but that's where the sport is.
it is indeed. So, regardless of that, it's a very big card. It's a very attractive looking card. Wembley, 21st of September. You also have on it Hamza Shiraz versus Tyler Denny, who won the European Middleweight Championship or defended it on Saturday versus Felix Cash. He might come on the show, by the way, because I was looking to get an interview with him, but they had to clear the room. And the publicist, Dan Miller from Boxer, said, I can maybe get him on Zoom for you. And I said, we'd
Who's
like him
that,
on the
Hamza?
show. No, this will actually be Tyler Denny, which is
Okay.
he's kind of being billed as the kind of Cinderella man of the British boxing right now. So maybe we'll get Tyler Denny on the show. You've also got Anthony Kakachi versus Josh Warrington. How do you feel about that one, Gary? Some people are saying, why the hell is Josh Warrington getting another world title shot versus Kakachi, who just beat Cordina, when he's only won one of his last 5 fights? Warrington, that is, Warrington defended that situation. Go on, you talk.
Again, it's hype and money. And this is what makes me laugh, because, like, I guess, Ben, they are selling these fights to a lot of, I'm sure the majority of boxing fans, but I guess a lot of these people are not. It's a new crowd. It's a new era. It's maybe a younger movement, and maybe they can, cover the sun with these titles and let people believe that they're seeing something they're not really seeing. But yeah, it for me, it just takes value out of the sport. It's such a big deal. I mean, to finally get 25 years, an undisputed heavyweight champion, and then within less than a couple of
5 weeks, I think, 5 or 6 weeks,
take it away, and then promote another fight as if there's two guys who've both been beat by the men, to try and ram it down the public. 3 times heavyweight champion, or 2-time heavyweight champion, or any heavyweight champion. It doesn't, for me, it's just a mockery. But
yeah,
I mean, thank God the people know. I mean, I respect Daniel Dubois. I'm happy for him to get a world title. In his legacy history, he's won a world title, and deservedly so, with the couple of fights he just got through. Big Baby Miller, I'm on the fence.
well, that shouldn't make you deservedly a world champion when you're not one. That's just an honourable career. What's wrong with being a contender?
I understand that, but I think that I don't mind it for the fact that he's in an era which, like, for example, in the last 25 years, there's been 4 or 5 world champions, of which he deserves maybe one of them. But in the year that we finally unify again, I think it takes away from a lot of things when we've just finally got clarity, and then it gets taken immediately away. It just doesn't make sense to me.
No.
But in a different era, had they not unified, then it's valid. He's beat a couple of top guys, and if Hrgović was the
sure. In another era, he may not have got a shot, or Jerry Corey, I think he got.
I mean, as much as we talk about Dubois deservingly, I think he's also been very lucky. He's like the cat with 9 lives. Like, Frank Warren keeps getting him into these big fights, and he keeps getting shot and shot. So he's had a lot of favor on his side to put him in these positions again. But what I do love about the situation is, we've seen an evolution of Daniel Dubois, and he's like, I'm proud of him to be doing what he's doing. It looks like he's broke through, and I think I don't know if he's going to have enough for Joshua. I think the problem with the fight with Joshua is, if you were to look at all the heavyweights to fight Joshua, style-wise, I would think Dubois is the perfect style for Joshua to catch.
Well, yeah, because if you look at how many
very straightforward.
Right hands, you just look at how many right hands he ate against Hrgović, and fair enough, admirably he took them, he weathered them, and he came on to stop the guy. But most people are saying, if you take those same shots against Anthony Joshua, you're going to sleep before you get the chance to.
No, Hrgović doesn't hit like Joshua. He doesn't have the accuracy. Yeah, exactly. He doesn't have the precision. He doesn't have the power, and so there's no way, shape, or form. The only the flip side of it was Daniel was aggressive. Where he's been like the last few fights. What I like about him. He's took chances. He's letting his hands go. He wasn't always that way. And I think now, at least we're going to get a great fight as long as it lasts. And it could go either way because he's a big puncher too. So he could catch Joshua. And we all know that Anthony can get hurt. So it's one of them fights that it is literally don't blink because
I think so. Tyrone Briscoe just asked this question a few comments earlier. Sorry if I don't get all your questions, guys, but you can see the flow of the conversation is one thing, and when Michael's on, it's even more so. But he says, "Hi guys, question: is it the men with the biggest mouth stroke personality that are getting title shots?" I think it depends because someone like Josh Warrington's not got a big mouth at all. He's like an everyman like Ricky Hatton, and he was the Leeds Warrior and the People's Champion at Leeds. So he's just a very popular guy. What Josh Warrington said, talking specifically his case, he said, "I'm getting the shot because I'm an exciting fighter and that's what the public want to see, regardless of me only having one win in my last 5 fights." But, I don't necessarily think obviously certain people use the big mouth act and the kind of the kind of play the pantomime villain a little bit. Fury's done it obviously very successfully for a long time. But guys like Ahara Davies, I did an interview with him a little while ago. I've known the kid for years, and he said he had to talk trash because he couldn't sell a ticket the way it was. And he was actually saying that black fighters, working class black kids from urban areas do struggle to sell tickets compared to some of their white counterparts. So that was his particular take on it, But it obviously works to an extent, doesn't it? But I don't think. I think it's about connections too, don't you, Gary? I think regardless of your personality, it's about your connections.
I think you've got a strong promotional team and sell tickets, and again, it's a business, and so that's why for me it saddens the undisputed situation because finally, you could say all of that's out the window. We got one guy now, go, beat him, and. But there's so many bodies now with the 4 or 5 bodies that are just trying to make money. They're giving anyone shots at world titles.
And
they're doing it for the fact that whoever sells the most gets the most revenue, the bigger the fees. And so it's very much a business.
Which is that's why some people said that might be why Alexander Usyk was so quick to vacate it with such alacrity, is that he has to pay less sanctioning fees next time he fights Fury. Maybe it's a factor. I don't know. Even when you're getting telephone numbers, Gary, perhaps it's a factor.
Well, maybe, yeah, and I think Usyk is as bad as it is for the public. He, on the flip side, he says, "I don't need to pay them fees because the public knows I'm the champ anyway." So it's like it works 2 ways.
Yeah. Frank Sanchez and Filip Hrgovic will become heavyweight champion of the world. Mark my words. But Dari Pennant says, but this is the thing I insist on. Just say belt holder. Don't say heavyweight champion of the world because that for starters is nonsense. You can say you're IBF champion, the WBO champion, whatever. But what I don't like is the people who will use. I remember when Kell Brook won a world title against Sean Porter in San Francisco, or in California, wherever it was. And his sister says, "Can't believe my brother's champion of the whole wide world." Well, he's not, is he? He wasn't, was he? That language, I'm not all right with it. Because
no, it's I won a version of a world title. That's the language you have to use in this forum. So I was in the top 4. That's the thing. That's why I think it's sad that you can't make. This is what's laughable is you can't make such a big deal about undisputed, and then just demolish it inside a month. It's ridiculous, isn't it? The very promoters who are saying, "Finally, thank God, we get a undisputed champion," are the very promoters who turn around and because they have a fighter who's now fighting for.
Can I get a 3-time?
Yeah, can I get a 3-time? It's just contradicting the way they speak. So it is what it is. We all know what's going on. Usyk Fury will fight for the best heavyweight in the world, and the winner will either retire or go on to fight whoever's the best around, and that'll be the belt, and that'll be the fight that everyone's going to follow. But maybe Daniel will come into his own. He can, if he wins this fight and has a few successful defenses and finds his way around to the to the
Well,
guy.
whoever wins is going to fight the winner of Fury Usyk. Almost.
I think it's a bit. Again, I'm not sure I like that fight because he's just been beat by Usyk. Why would Usyk want to fight him again within a year or whatever it is? It's like if I'm Usyk, I'd say I'm not fighting Dubois again. He's had 2 fights. Miller, who's nobody, and Hrgovic, who everyone was on the fence with. He was the bogeyman, but I even said I didn't like him. I thought he wasn't what he was supposed to be. So. It's not like Dubois. I think Parker deserves a fight before anyone else.
What's up, Silk?
Hey, what's going on?
Hey, that's good.
Hey,
that sounds
that's
good.
a good-looking boy over there.
Oh, thank you so much. You're too kind. Gary, you glitter.
I glitter.
Yeah, you glitter.
Your Silk is looking very small.
Don't call me
Silk.
Gary Glitter. He was not my favorite person.
See, if you don't have the blue thing in capitals and you don't have a white caption underneath with a little bit of bio, it makes you look small. Like there's this little. See, there's sugar stretch. There's just like little Silk here.
You're a particular one. You are sugar.
I like to get things right. I want it to be 100% Silk. But at least your fucking audio's okay. I mean, let's praise small mercies. Thank heaven for them.
What did you have to do?
I had to get my son. That's what I had to do. It was a perfect investment. He paid off. It took 23 years, but he paid off.
Starting to actually pull his weight now.
We were just discussing this heavyweight situation, the stripping of the IBF.
Well, he vacated it.
Oh, wow.
I think he jumped before he was pushed, Gary. He
And
vacated
I was
it.
saying it works two ways, Silk. It's ridiculous that we finally. I mean, the promoters were all the hype. Finally, after 25 years, we're going to get an undisputed, and then they vacate, and then they all jump on the 3-time world champion Anthony Joshua. Like the same people who are promoting let's finally get undisputed are very happy to jump onto the let's do 3-time world champion. I think everybody knows who's the champion is Usyk, and whoever wins the Fury Usyk fight is the man.
Yeah,
I think Ben was saying on the flip side, Usyk gave the belt up because he doesn't need to pay the sanction fees, and everybody knows he's the guy anyway.
yeah.
What's all that clattering in the background, by the way? There's loads of clatter.
Oh my God, I don't hear clatter.
It's
He
like
has
there's
a
a
belly
canteen
dancing
of
backstage.
illegals working underneath you, trying to get that, these burritos
So, well,
ready.
what's
for
the
table
racist
5.
illegals again? What's illegal?
Can you
Englishmen
could you hear it
working.
all? It was
Englishmen
like
working.
clatter.
He's got belly dancers in. You know why he's doing a progress show?
Listen to it.
You're quick clacking. Oh, that's sorry. That's my son is making a drink.
Right. Okay. Listen to it.
It'll be over soon. Yeah, I heard it. We'll go on. But basically, what you guys are saying. I mean, listen, Usyk's the champ. We know he's the champ. Unfortunately, they always end up doing this. They always end up like somehow kicking boxing in the shin and doing things that don't really. You don't endear the fan base to these organizations, right? I mean, basically that's what it is. But why did they take it from Usyk? He only just got it. Why did?
But he didn't.
They
He vacated it. He vacated it.
But why
He didn't vacate it, Ben, for free. They told him he had to give it up or defend it, right?
There was pressure on him. Basically,
but he only just had that fight like a month.
Well,
ago.
let me explain it.
The fight that he would have had to fight would have been Dubois. He just beat him.
Well, yeah, it would have been. Yeah, I know. Yeah, exactly that. He'd
How
actually
mad is
defended
that?
against Dubois.
Yeah.
How
Well,
crazy
it's
is
all
that?
broken, isn't it? We need a global governing body. I think we could try one umbrella organization if we could establish that an enlightened dictatorship. I'd be willing to try that.
I don't know if a dictatorship is ever any good. I mean,
Well,
I guess
said that, but this is
yeah. I mean, I
guess
guess it's yeah, but it's the kind of thing you have to put up with. If you want freedom, everybody has to have freedom. You can't. But if you know what I mean. But if you take a dictatorship, one person's going to have that, and no one else is going to be happy except for the person the one-party system. They're going to be
We've only
happy.
got one government in our countries,
Yeah, but we have
I mean,
numerous.
what are your thoughts, Silk, on, we look at legacy and we look at, looking back on our careers. I'm very proud of some of our champions. Nigel Benn was a hero to me. He had more courage and incredible courage and fire. Eubanks, another. But if you look at Eubanks, 20 defenses as a world champion?
Yeah, 21.
Never went near a Roy Jones in his prime,
or a James Toney or Michael Nunn.
James Toney, or how do you, when you look back, you say I was world champion? You would have to say I had a version of it, right?
Yeah, you'd have to say I had a version, but I mean, does it even really matter? Even if a guy says, "Yeah, I was world champion," then he gets called out on a show, and then so what? Like, he's not going to go to jail for it, and he's not going to, have a better place in heaven over it either.
It's no coincidence that Chris Eubank was able to put a Joe Louis type reign together in that era. He'd have never done it in the era that Joe Louis actually did it, and we wouldn't have done for.
Well, what makes me, what is unfair? Not unfair. I mean, it's amazing. It's a double-edged sword. Is you can get someone like Michael, who fought the greatest of the greats at the time, and lost marginally. And you could have had Michael could have probably beat some of the other world champions. So you get fighters who are not world champions, but
weren't as good as him.
Like the right guy.
Sure, and that's sport. That's the way it should work. That's life.
Yeah, it is life, and you take pride in what you've achieved. You know what I mean? It's like, okay, when it was really popping, you're able to get world rated at that point. That's that I'm okay with that, but there's a lot of people in the world that just aren't okay with losing, and nobody wants to lose. It's never a good feeling. But the thing is, it's like it's a building block. It's what you do with it. You know what I mean? And it could lead, a loss can lead to a whole bunch of different things. I don't know how people are they don't want to accept it. Maybe because of social media now, and if you lose in front of 4.5 billion
many more people than ever.
You know what I mean? Than ever. I don't know what it is, but it's just our egos are just way out of check, and everyone loses.
I've mentioned this before, Gary, but the Silk won't even allow you to call him champ playfully or affectionately because he doesn't feel it's appropriate because he didn't win a world title. And the thing is, I respect that. I call that principles. I call that integrity. I wish he would relax the rule a little bit because I feel like saying it. Same. I can call you champ, Gary, because you were British champ. That's legit. That's okay. But when I say, "Hey, champ, what you up to?" I can't do that with the Silk. I have to correct myself because he told me years ago, "Please don't call me champ."
If you look at the definition of the word champion, Silk was definitely that.
For sure.
Thank you.
For sure.
I appreciate that. But as boxers, we all use it in terms of like the way I see it is like that's reserved for somebody who had won the world title. I mean, yeah, okay, I won a Vancouver title or Canadian title or North American title, those kinds of things, but it wasn't what we got in there to do. You know what I mean? It wasn't an accomplishment on that scale of, and I don't like the fact that I would belittle, other guys' achievements.
But by sharing in that tag, which like I said, that I respect that enormously, even though it's something I constantly have to think about when I want to call you anything other than Silk.
Yeah,
it's good job.
I mean, there's a lot of people.
It's good.
There's a lot of people say that on they just use the word on social media and they say that to me, and I just I'll be there all day if I'm going to sit there and correct all of them. But
yeah, exactly, because that's how much you care. Because you're the same as we are. That's how invested you are in this stuff, But
yeah,
Steve Boggle's asking me, by the way, just trying to engage the viewers a little bit. He says, "You remember Simpson versus Andrews when the WBC light heavyweight title and the British title was on the line? That was bizarre." Simpson Andrews is someone I was going to mention to you fellas, you in particular, Silk, because that's one example where I think it was decided by weight and size. I think Sibbo was a better, more accomplished fighter than Dennis in many ways, although Dennis was a 3-time world champion, ironically enough. But Sibbo was every bit as good a fighter, I think, as Dennis. Certainly had more of a skill set, but the guy was too big and too strong for him. I don't know. You remember the fight, Gary?
I do.
Do you think it was decided by size and strength?
But Sybil was kind of burned out by then, wasn't he?
I think
There's
he's
an
at the
argument for
tail
that
end
still,
of
yes.
his. Yeah, I think he's at the tail end of his career, and
Yeah.
Do you
he
think
was
size
burned
and
out.
strength was a factor, though, Gary?
I think Andrews was a bit big for him. Yeah,
So,
but I don't think Silk would give you that credit.
exactly that. That's what I'm saying. And to be fair, he's raised the caveat of age and mileage, which is not irrelevant. Of course not. But
Yeah.
I've been meaning. I was thinking of compiling a list, 10 examples where I feel the fights were decided by strength and size. Simpson Andrews was one on my shortlist anyway.
Well, I mean, fights can be decided by strength and size but if the other guy doesn't have the skill to combat those attributes, then of course he's going to lose because of that. It's just
Ali's come up with a great caveat. If you read what it says, he's come up with a fantastic caveat to the size and strength.
Andrews is much stronger than Hearns, most
I
probably.
actually don't think he was
Tommy,
stronger than Hearns. I think Hearns is a lot stronger than you give him credit for. He was a wiry, strong man.
He had a massive shoulders, Tommy.
He was freaky strong, Tommy.
Yeah,
I think.
Yeah. His back, and it's interesting because he doesn't manhandle you, but he moves you with his punches. It's interesting because I mean, we never really fought on the inside or anything like that, but he doesn't move you around and like lay his body weight on you. Isn't that type of guy? He punches through you, like try to punch holes through you. So his power in that way, yeah.
When Hearns hits you, it's like an electric bolt, isn't it? He has that kind of accuracy and power. Hearns.
Mm-hmm.
It's like an electric shock, I think. Yeah.
Well, he would know specifically. He's gonna pull rank, or we're gonna give him rank on this one. The Silk. When it comes to what it feels like to get hit by Tommy Hearns.
Oh yeah, it's a different beast altogether. It really is. I mean, you feel it when he throws the jab. Like that's something you can feel when people talk about like pain or stinging, that kind of thing. Yes, but when he throws the right hand, it's like Novocaine. You don't feel anything, and it's really
That's why you
really
said
interesting.
You said if you can feel the punch, then they don't really hit that hard. Or if you can remember it.
Yeah, exactly.
But have you noticed as well, Gary, when you ask some of these great champions or notable champions over the years, what's the hardest you ever been hit? It's remarkable how often they come up with some obscure name that was early in their career. Have you noticed that? Like, Foreman said Ken LaCusta hit him the hardest, I think, which is kind of hilarious. But who am I to argue?
But he must have been aware. He must have been aware of the punch in order to say he got hit the hardest.
I think there's different types of punches. There's the thudders who clump you to death and break your arms and your hips, and you get out. You think, "Fuck, that was a hard night." And then you get those electric shocks. Like Tommy's a bit of both. I think Tommy's like a fucking thunderbolt. But then you get these accurate shots, and the only couple of times I ever got dropped in my life was I actually woke up when I realized when my ass hit the floor, I didn't actually feel the shot.
I had that once. Darren Barker did it.
Yeah, I had that when you get hit and you lose, you wake up 3 rounds later and you're just on this operating system that you don't know. Like
that's weird.
You're just going through instincts. Yeah, it really is. You sort of wake up.
Scotty said that happened to him.
Yeah. And that happened to me. I got caught once really bad, and 2 rounds later I finally woke up and I was able to end the fight. But it's interesting how vulnerable you are during those times, or it's interesting how your body just goes into this other.
I'll tell you what's interesting too is I used to like. I mean, I never got hit that much, but I used to like getting caught a bit early to kind of get used to it, rather than
distance yourself.
Get a shot out of nowhere. I thought take a few shots and sweating, and you start, and then you can, things are not so shocky. I think the shot that you don't see or you don't expect is the dangerous shot.
Billy Joe Saunders said he had a test for people's power, like someone like David Lemieux, who was very much a reputation as a puncher when he went into the fight. What Billy Joe said he would do, I don't know if you guys ever did anything like this. He said he would expose his body a little bit too much, elbows a bit wide, tempting a body shot, maybe not too obvious, and he'd wait till they throw the body shot, hopefully, then he would catch it with his elbow. And he said that was his gauge of how hard they punch. I mean, what do you think of that?
Never me.
No?
I would
No.
never want to get touched by anybody. Forget it.
What, not even in the elbow?
No. It's I'm fragile. I'm not built like. I mean, you look at guys like Aaron Barkley, and you got like the thick brows and it's overhanging and the whole thing.
Yeah.
Doug DeWitt, he was pretty solidly built. Hey, that's why my nickname was Silk. I wasn't.
Yeah.
I wasn't built for that kind of stuff.
He's like a porcelain teacup.
Exactly.
Well, because Gary seems to have a version of it, but it was his version where Gary said I didn't mind taking one a bit early when he was because he wanted to get himself acclimatized to that kind of thing.
Yeah.
I didn't mind taking a few now and again, and I found in some of the fights that went long distances, and I started taking them. You kind of get acclimatized to it a little bit, depending, of course, who you're fighting. But
yeah,
if I was fighting someone like
Julian Jackson,
then you might not think so. But no,
yeah. I fought when I fought Dangerous Don Lee. I remember thinking I don't want to get hit by the guy, but when the bell rings and then he hit me and he broke my eardrum. First punch he hit me solid, bam! My eardrum went open, and within a millisecond of getting hit with that shot, I dipped a little bit and I came back and I caught him with a left hook right on the chin. And it's just an instinctual thing that as a fighter, it's like someone hurts you, you got to hurt them back right away, and that's one of the characteristic traits. Like if you're still functioning when you get hit, like sometimes some people lose, like they go into a fog and that's it. But some people are still like fully operational when they get hit. And I fortunately had that. Like I could be hurt, but I certainly.
You know what Evander Holyfield said? He said, "If you can feel the pain, you're still in the game."
Yeah, that's true. I see this for Silk. How was Curtis Parker? Yeah, Curtis Parker was amazing. Yo, that dude was so tough. I mean, I remember hitting him. I used to love to dig a left hook to the body, and I hit this man. You could hear it. It went like someone took a bat to meat, and I hit him right in the right solar plexus ribs area, and he took it. I mean, it hurt him, and he backed up. But I thought it would totally end the fight, like just eradicate. And he was incredible in terms of being able to absorb it and come back with that energy. He was a perfect test for me as a young fighter coming up, because I had never ventured really deep into the States in terms of competition at that time. I'd fought some guys internationally, but I'd never fought like he was. I think at that point he was maybe like number 9, somewhere between 9 and 11 as a world title contender. And he was tough. He just kept coming, and he gave me like my funnest moment in boxing. Like when I look back at it, I always used to watch Ali and Joe Frazier fight. And I remember the opening of Wild World of Sports, and I saw, the thrill of victory, the agony of defeat. Now he's backing up, and he's throwing combinations at Joe Frazier at the same time, and it's like a 3-second clip. And I always said to myself when I used to watch Wild World of Sports, oh man, I would love to do that. I would love to do that. And Curtis Parker, who's also from Philadelphia and very much like Joe Frazier in his build and the way he came at you, just relentless. He gave me that moment. I think it was in the 10th round.
Yeah.
And so that's my favorite clip of all my fights. I just watch that because it reminds me of when I got a chance to do the Ali thing.
So someone else has said that must have been cool as well when you actually wanted to do that iconically, and then you managed to get a chance to pull that off. Sid said would love to have seen Gary fight Andy Till. Andy Stone.
Me too.
Yeah.
No, me too. He was a strong, tough kid, but that would have been I would have loved to fight that fight. I was very manipulated by the promoters at the time who had a stable of fighters to give up my British. You know,
shame you didn't keep that and get that.
I'm so mad. I just give it up, keep promising you other things, and offering you world title fights that don't come, and give it up and let someone else fight for it. And like for what now, I look back, I was so stupid. I've always thought myself.
In retrospect, right? If we could do it over again.
Say, no, I'm not giving anything up. Yeah.
Ever.
Why would I give anything up? I would just say no, unless I got put in a position where I had to But I was just, you listen to the promoter, and I just did what I was. Okay.
Listen,
You
there's
know.
so many opportunities like that. I remember when I was going for the world title, my first world title fight, and I was supposed to fight Barkley, and a lot of things went all over the place. We didn't fight him, and there were other guys. There was one Rodan, trained for him. We just kept on training incessantly, and then finally they came to Frank Tate, and I was not in a good position at all. Like just my energy and my training and the whole thing. I was feeling kind of burned out, and instead of just saying, you know what, you're the number one contender in the world. You have a following. You have you have your TV pedigree. Just let it go and come back later and fight again when you're feeling good. It's like, no, you feel it for some reason. You feel like,
I've got to do it
Pressure.
now.
yeah, you have to do it now. And
Otherwise, you miss that window.
exactly, you missed the window. But what's going to happen? They're not sure. You're the number one contender. You're gonna get that fight again. You
I
know
had
what I
it
mean?
with
It's a
Michael
fight people
Young
want to see.
twice.
Yeah,
Twice in Paris, set up and fall through, and you're talking two camps, and then you think I'll get another fight, and then it didn't happen. Then I was
Yeah.
supposed to fight in the undercard of a Tommy Hearns fight under
Yeah.
Jackie Callan.
Oh, yeah.
Jackie took me over and said, I'm going to get you on this Tommy card, and then Tommy pulled out with the injury, so the card went down. And next thing I know, I've been training for a year with nothing,
Yeah.
and then you get burned out, and
Yeah.
you just and you're. That's why
You really do.
I have to take my hat off to Floyd, because when you think about how smart this guy was to buy his contract back for almost $1 million was a lot of money at that time for him, I'm
Top
sure.
rank.
And then to go and because look at Michael now. Imagine being who you are now mentally. You would just say, "I'll promote myself."
Mhm.
Yeah.
Yeah,
You get a couple
absolutely.
of smart guys round you, and you just say,
Mhm.
"You know what? Let's go and put a venue on, and I'll sell it out." And you'd make a lot of money. You'd pick who you want to fight. Well, you'd just do
Yeah.
it yourself, wouldn't you?
Yeah, yeah.
I was selling shows out all the time, and for nothing.
Just
I wasn't
yeah.
getting anything
Yeah, it's
like.
taking the initiative, and it also helps. I mean, he had Leonard Ellaby there, and Leonard Ellaby, I think, really had this, maverick type approach to boxing, and
Did you know that he got a push recently? By the way,
he
He's
got
got
pushed.
he
Who
he
pushed him?
got. He's no longer part of Mayweather Promotions.
Oh, I see. Oh, that
Richard
kind of
Schaefer's
thing.
with
Yeah.
taking
Tank
his
now,
place.
right?
Richard Schaefer's taking his place.
And now he's gone with Tank, I think, hasn't he?
And
He
Schaefer
may
was
be
with
involved
who
in some
again?
way. Yeah, maybe.
Who was
think he's
Schaefer
now-
with? Schaefer.
Richard
Yeah, I
Schaefer
think
was in De La
Ellaby's-
Hoya years ago.
What is going on
Yeah,
with Floyd in this
exactly.
Dubai situation?
What's going on with what?
With Floyd, he said he's not been able to leave the country.
Oh, he's out now. He's
out
that's
now.
been
Yeah,
sorted. That's
I
been
think
sorted.
he owed somebody money or
He's
took
okay
some
now.
jewelry. Yeah, he's back stateside.
Yeah. So they obviously got ironed out, which I think it was always going to, wasn't it? But talking of the States, by the way, boys, there is a fight on tomorrow, which is what you might refer to as a trade super fight. It doesn't catch the mainstream attention, but is a great fight. You've got Jesse Ben Rodriguez versus Juan Francisco Estrada in Phoenix, Arizona. I think it's important enough for us to talk about and to make it part of our ongoing competition.
Well, I've never been to Spain, but I've been to Arizona.
You have, and what did you make of it? Or
You
you
don't
just
know
left
the
it as it
song?
was? Huh?
You don't know the song. That was into a song. It was a big song.
I figured it was a song, but I'm not familiar with it. No, are you familiar with it, Gary?
No.
No.
Okay, I'm gonna have to play it for you guys afterwards.
Since he went to
Yeah.
Broadway, he's changed a lot.
Yeah. He has.
Now
He
he
has.
brings up all these
He's always been a bit
songs.
musical. He's had ABBA songs on here. He's done impressions of Muhammad Ali. What else has he done? He's done a few kind of theatrical things.
Yeah.
But,
The Three Dog Night. The Three Dog Night. Come on, guys.
Sexy song.
kind of cool song. Yes, Slinky.
Yeah. You guys don't know the song? Three Dog Night?
No.
Come on, stop it. Hold on, wait a second. You'll know it in a minute. Yeah. Uh-huh. I've never been to England,
Are we going to get copyrighted here?
but I kind of
Probably
like the
that'll be the
Beatles.
next problem. Yeah.
I'm surprised you guys haven't heard this song. This is crazy.
I haven't heard it. No,
Do you know of the Three Dog Night?
no, I've never heard of Three Dog Night.
This is crazy.
But
Okay,
Is that
well,
your music?
should we proceed?
yeah, let's proceed. I'm sorry, you guys aren't gonna get it.
So
Okay.
that's it. Cut it.
Is that your kind of music, Silk?
He likes a lot of
I
stuff.
kind of, yeah, I like everything.
He's eclectic. Three Dog Night. Bruce Gascoigne and Jazz.
Strumming my pain with his fingers.
That's Luther Vandross.
Singing my life with his words.
That's Luther Vandross. I have you know, in North Beach, there's a store in Manhattan here in the early 80s, in the mid 80s.
Yeah.
You heard me?
Well, no, because you're playing a fucking song in the middle of the show.
That's not me.
Of course not.
That's who's playing Luther? Luther.
I was playing Luther.
Oh, Gary was there. Sorry.
Yeah,
Oh,
it
okay.
wasn't me.
I didn't realize.
Yeah.
I thought it was you.
No, I was gonna say I was in North Beach Leather on 57th Street in 1987, and Luther Vandross tried to pick me up, and when we were shopping, I was like, sorry. I really appreciate your music, but it ain't gonna happen.
Yeah.
But he's an amazing, like, what a presence! Oh my God, this guy was so cool.
What a voice!
He's incredible.
What a voice! He was a good guy, Luther. I knew him a long.
So Ben, tell me who
who
tried to pick Ben up? Come on, Ben.
Who tried to what?
Pick you up.
Gary Glitter.
What? You mean a famous person? Yeah. Jimmy Savile. A famous person. I can't.
Doesn't actually. Well, yeah, I guess
The
it
Hulk.
famous.
I think the Hulk thought you was his son.
I'm trying to think.
If you painted Ben green, he'd look like the Hulk, wouldn't he?
If you painted Ben green.
When I was 8, I wanted to be the Hulk.
He's got that strong face, the nose, and the.
Well, you know what? More. I think instead of the Hulk, more like Ben Grimm.
Yeah.
Like Ben Grimm, like the dude, the Fantastic Four, right?
Yeah, the Thing and all that kind of thing. It was. I used to like that as well. I was into Marvel.
Yeah, it was great.
But I had a major thing about the Incredible Hulk.
You got the jawline, Ben, and that big right hand.
Yeah. Well, I was saying, by the way, Silk, before we move on and discuss the actual pressing matters in Phoenix, Arizona, Gary has been in London, right, for about 12 days recently. We were in we never got to hang out, and we were saying neither one of us even mentioned getting to the gym and having a little move around because I think both of us had our own reasons.
I had to clarify with Ben today.
Yeah.
So I've been in hospital for 2 days doing tests on my back because I've got this spinal problem, you know?
Yes.
I can't throw a punch at all right hand. I can't throw a jab. It like pain. So I've had MRIs and nerve testing, and because I did a spinal injury 3-4 months ago, and I was like, you all know about it. Anyway, there was a famous surgeon, German, flew into Bulgaria yesterday. I flew in just for the surgeon to meet him, and went through 2 days of testing, and I cannot. They don't want to operate actually right now. They're going to test me again in 6 months, but they give me the okay to train. Because I kept stopping training because I couldn't train because it too much pain. But like I can't throw a jab at all. It's just impossible. The jaw cannot do it. But he said to me, I want you to do it because I want to see if you can get some kind of rehabilitation. Because he said if you cannot, then surgery might have to be the option. But I was afraid that when I was trying to train before that I was possibly going to
making it worse.
Make it worse. But so they said he's given me the okay to train limited, but slowly. Swimming's good and this. But yeah, I said to Ben, sadly, even if I wanted to, I can't fight Ben right now because.
All right. Well, Ben's lucky. Ben breathed a sigh of relief on that.
Yeah.
But Ben never called me out in London. If he'd have called me out, I may have had to add a shot.
And I felt the same way. I thought if he mentions it, I've got to do it because I didn't feel 100% either. Blah blah blah. Who cares? But I didn't feel 100%, and I thought I could do without it this time. And he didn't mention it. Neither did I.
My
days.
money would be on you
Lovely.
right now, Ben. I promise you. I would
Yeah.
not
Well,
be.
listen,
But I would just replace me with Silk.
Yeah, well, he's already made the point. That was even mooted. He clicked back into old mode and said, "You don't even want to fight me blind." So we'll leave it there, guys. Estrada versus Rodriguez. I mean, one thing I know. Okay, one guy hasn't boxed. The champion hasn't boxed since last December against Sonny Edwards. The challenger Estrada has not boxed since December 2022. Activity is definitely a thing these days, isn't it? Inactivity is definitely an issue for fighters, I think. One guy not boxed in 18 months, the other one guy not boxed in about 7 months, But
how's this fight got made?
Say again?
How's the fight got? There's no title at stake, right?
Yeah, there is. I mean, but Rodriguez, he unified 2 titles against Sonny Edwards, didn't he? He was he WBO and RBF champion?
We beat Sonny Edwards, right?
He beat Sonny Edwards back in
Yeah, I
December.
remember we watched that together, didn't we? I think we all watched that fight.
Yeah, I don't know either one of these guys.
But you know who Jesse Bam Rodriguez is because you picked him for a start and you got it right. It shows you don't really know what you're talking about. You're just getting lucky. You can't even remember who they are.
It's not getting lucky. I look at them obviously,
and then they just
up and I
completely
make
go
my
out of your
decision.
head.
Yeah, because I have a lot to think about and I need the bandwidth.
I get it. Sherlock Holmes said, "Listen, a fool takes all the lumber into his attic, Watson." He says, "I do not need to know how many times the sun, orbits the Earth, or anything else." He said,
"There you go.
What produces it to me?" He said, So all right, explanation accepted. So
Gracias.
you remember it,
You
right,
leave
Gary?
that one alone.
Huh?
I think it's a 50-50 fight.
Maybe so. I mean,
I think it's a 50-50 fight, meaning who's in the better shape.
Interestingly, the bookies make he's actually a 3-1 on favourite, Jesse Bam Rodriguez with the money man, and you can get 7-2 on Juan Francisco Estrada, who hasn't fought since beating Roman Chocolatito Gonzalez back in December 2022.
Who would you favour, Ben? I'm not asking you to commit, but who would you favour right now?
I'm going with Bam Rodriguez because I think he's the younger, fresher guy, more active. He looks a bit special. I've rated Sonny Edwards very highly, and Bam did a total number on Sonny Edwards, and Sonny doesn't dispute that. So I think he's a good fighter, Estrada. He's a borderline great fighter, Estrada. But
Gary, you know how I feel about agreeing with Ben because
it's a curse. It's a curse.
It's a curse.
So you got to go the other way.
No, I tend to. I can't. I can't. I mean, I think I would go with Bam as well.
You favour Rodriguez, so we're both saying Rodriguez. Gary's going to go the other way now, just because Gary's really good at playing that angle.
I just.
The ref doesn't fall in and hit Rodriguez on the head.
No, I just looked at this briefly before we came on the show. Just have a quick research. Estrada, they're saying a lot of the. Who's the great Mexican coach who has a lot of these, the famous
Zeferino Gonzalez?
Robert Garcia.
Robert Garcia said Estrada is probably the most talented of all the fighters he knows.
Yeah.
So that's interesting that he's so talented, even though I think he's favoring Bam for the fight, but he said Estrada's really talented. So
as good as anyone.
I really would be giving you just both a free point by picking because I really don't know. I would be an uneducated guess. But I guess if you two are on Bam, I'll go with Estrada.
Yeah, and this is the way he plays, and so often it works out for him. He did that with Sebastian Fundora versus Zoo. No way Zoo loses that fight if he doesn't get cut.
No, I fancied that, and he beat him again, and he would beat him again.
God smiles down on Gary Stretch when he makes
No. He would beat Zoo again.
No, he would. He never beat him the first time. In the first place, he got cut.
No way Zoo loses if he doesn't get that cut.
No, I think now he's grown in confidence, the kid, and he beats him again.
The confidence has nothing to do with it. He'll
next fight, Ben.
Next fight. Well, we don't have to pick on it because I think it probably is a little easy. But Teofimo Lopez is fighting in Florida tomorrow night as well. He's fighting believe it's in Miami, against a guy called Steve Claggett. Now, here's the thing, right? You're both. I'm pretty confident both you'll say, "Who the fuck is Steve Claggett?" But this is the problem nowadays, is it not? With these multiple titles, and bear in mind, this show is called Choking on Alphabet Soup. That's how I titled it. So he's fighting Steve Claggett, who's a world title challenger, even though none of us have ever heard of him until now.
Where is he from? States?
Let me see. I'll tell you
It,
that.
it sounds like a UK name. Claggett.
It does, doesn't it? It sounds like some proper northern kind of Claggett.
No,
It sounds a bit like the Ebenezer Scrooge here, like Claggett. What did I tell you about coming out late for work? Doesn't it?
Steve Claggett.
Yes.
Are you saying Steve Claggett?
Yeah, I am. Are you saying it too? He is from Canada. Canada, Silk. How about that?
Oh, hey, it's same thing, practically the same thing. It's the Commonwealth. Canada is the Commonwealth, right?
Do you know what? He's got 7 losses, 2 draws, 38 wins.
Damn, 7 losses.
And he has a title shot. He's got 7 losses, which that's a lot of losses in today's era of groomed records.
Yeah, but what has he done recently that got him the title shot?
Okay, so he's coming off a win against a guy called Marcus Gonzalez Barraza. Another guy called Miguel.
So this is basically just a fight to get Teofimo active again and get his name in front of people.
Yeah,
Yeah.
Teofimo's too talented for this kid.
But we're not going to pick on this one because we're just giving ourselves a point. You agree?
Yeah, Teofimo's too much for this.
I think we should pick on the Rodriguez, and which we've done, or the Rodriguez Estrada. I don't think we should take advantage of the system by ball picking Lopez.
No.
Does that make sense?
Let's just discuss a little bit of Dubois. I know it's a long way away, but Dubois and Joshua.
Yeah.
I want to know your thoughts on that fight, Michael.
I think Joshua is just too much for him. I think Joshua. Yeah, he's too much. He's. I mean, I'm not even talking about in terms of size. I'm just talking about in terms of the confidence in which he's executing, and the way in which he punches. Like he's very direct and straight, and can keep you at range while he punches. Dubois doesn't have the fistic capabilities, I think, of like Andy Ruiz, for instance.
No.
He doesn't have that. He doesn't. His punches are halting. He kind of questions himself. He's unsure. I think he could, if he comes out in the first round and just gives it all he got, he'd still get KO'd, but he'd make it interesting, I guess, for a minute. But
I was saying to Ben, of all the fighters out there, Dubois probably matches up stylistically better for Joshua than anyone. He's pretty basic.
He really does.
Joshua's that precision, long range, big right hand jab.
Yeah,
sets Dubois up pretty.
Yes.
Yeah.
And they're both very much like foundationalists. You know what I mean? They do it's the jab followed by the right hand followed by the left hook. It's just that Joshua does it
better.
Yeah, much better. Yeah, considerably better. So it's not like someone's going to be one guy's going to outflash the other, or the skills, what their abilities, all of their abilities we've already seen. Dubois did look better his last fight, and I think he has done work, but those holes are still there, and that's dangerous.
I was going to mention this to you guys, and Danny Graham's preempted it. He said, "Did you see the sit down between them where it turned?" Nasty, not nasty, but it got into a situation because the compare, as it were, Adi Oladipo said, "Okay, so now it's on, and that's it." No, sorry, Joshua said, "I'm just ready to fight, regardless of the title. I'm just ready to fight." And then Dubois said, let's go, bring it on." And then Frank Warren said, "Well, let's wait till September 21st." And then Dubois said, "Well, no, we can go now. If you want to roll now, we can go. If you want to swing now, you want to go." And AJ said, "Don't just relax.
Disrespect me.
Don't you disrespect me. Don't you want me to put that chair across your face? Do not disrespect me."
Oh, is that what he said? I missed that part.
He said, "Yeah, do you want me to put that chair across your face? Don't ever disrespect me. Don't dare." And Dubois said, "You can't intimidate me. Who do you think you are?" And that was it. What do you think? What did you make of it?
I think Dubois is cute. He's like a child almost.
Yeah. He is cute, man.
He's got this childish quality. I think he's on a high right now mentally. I think he's got you know, he's found some belief. I don't think he's an overthinker. So I think he's a pretty basic guy, and I think that he's on some momentum. So he's gonna be dangerous for as long as it lasts. He could shock the world if they get into a turp and he lands. But I think Joshua will set it up perfectly to do what he needs to do. I think he's too refined.
Yeah, I think he's found his pace. He's found his style. It may be
I think
it's
Joshua
coming
beats
late.
everyone at the minute.
Yep.
I'm not sure about Fury. I
No,
think
he
beats
beats
Usyk.
Fury.
Well, he looks like
I
he
feel
could.
strongly like he could beat Usyk as well. Even though he lost twice to him already, I think he's just getting closer each time.
Yeah, and I think he's right now the most improved. But I tell you who else I like. Although I think Joshua's looking a little above everybody. But what's sad is in the mix-up of Dubois versus Joshua and all of is the most improved fighter is Parker, who's come off two amazing wins.
He's having a second wind of his career, isn't he? A renaissance.
And it's like.
But it's not hard to do in the heavyweight division. The state of it is, with the exception of Usyk, the state of the heavyweight division is.
It'd be an interesting fight, Usyk and Parker, because I think Parker is very strong, and I don't know if Usyk hits hard enough. Maybe he does, but I don't think it'd be easy to knock Parker out. And I think Parker would give him a lot of stylistically. I think Parker Usyk. I'd like Parker.
Mm-hmm. I think it's probably one of the reasons why Usyk's looking to go back down to cruiserweight. And
I do. I think there's a lot of heavyweights around stylistically who will give Usyk problems because of if you try and outbox him, no. But a lot of these heavyweights will just put strength and weight on him and power, and a lot of them will think they can walk through him. And the closest we got so far was the closest we got to beating Usyk was the black heavyweight.
Dubois.
No.
Oh, Chisora, you mean? I don't think so.
I think he gave him a lot.
But
I think he made him so uncomfortable for a long time.
For a couple of rounds, he did. I think Usyk beat Chisora clearly enough, but there seems to be this narrative nowadays that he pushed him to within an inch of his life, like Cassius Clay, Doug Jones. I think
he made him extremely uncomfortable for a while.
For 3 rounds or so, I think he did, but I think Usyk worked him out. People make out that just Chisora might have won that fight, whereas I never thought he was going to win it. I never thought so. Dubois came close to the weight.
Danny agrees with me, and I think that's a massive thing that we just talked about, Ben, is that Parker has been so active and just momentum and top quality fights, and I think he deserves the shot before all of them. I mean, he got him with 2 really good fighters and beat him well.
Sure.
What more can you do in his position?
He's certainly due an opportunity, isn't he? You know, someone says Martin Bacoli could gatecrash the party. That's what Sid says because Martin Bacoli's fighting Jared Anderson, isn't he, on that August the 3rd card in Los Angeles with Terence Crawford versus Israel Madrimov and Andy Ruiz versus Jarrell Miller. There's Miller got another opportunity, by the way.
The Miller that just lost.
The Miller that lost to Daniel Dubois on the record show. Yeah.
What do you think? I'd be interested to see how Ruiz shapes with him. I think Ruiz is one of the most talented heavyweights out there.
Yeah. He's got really good hands.
He's got the punch repertoire and the skills, and and he really gatecrashed the party. I think with Ruiz, he just has not really lived up to the promise he showed when he caused that historical upset, has he? Because he didn't have the dedication to.
He seems to have turned it around, doesn't he? The training again, that he's been more consistent.
They say that. I'm always seeing updates that he's looking trim and he's training, but is he actually going to be active and start fighting regularly? I mean, all right, he's fighting Jarrell Miller, so that's a start, isn't it?
I think he's been avoided a little bit, to be honest. I think, he wants too much money. He thinks he's worth more than he's worth, and I think he's not been able to put deals together. But I think he's not someone everyone wants to jump in with.
Hey Ben, what
It's,
did Fabian say? The last question about Roy Jones. Roy, who unfortunately just lost his son
yeah, so
recently,
yeah,
a
tragic,
couple of
tragic,
days ago,
tragic.
How?
tragically. Yeah.
His son committed suicide. His son DeAndre. That's Roy Jones. Gary.
How old was he?
32, I believe, something like that.
Yeah,
But
that's got to be the heaviest.
But he says most renaissances are step downs on their way out, especially Roy Jones. Everybody starched him I never even heard of. Roy had an awful run towards the end of his decline where he was losing to guys who had no right to lace his shoes. And I actually feel Roy did damage his legacy just a little bit. It's still very robust and very formidable. But I think in a way that Leonard and Duran didn't do, they had embarrassing defeats at the end of their careers, but their
Yeah.
legacy's still absolutely neon. I think Roy
Yeah.
took a tiny bit of luster off his legacy because he
But
purification of
Roy's
his own.
career was so fantastic and so like just on
Prime
such a
Roy had an era
it's
of
just
just
incredible. Like you could
unbeatable.
never you could
Superman.
never not look at him and say, you know what I mean? Yeah, it's exactly it. Superman. You can say, okay, someone dropped the kryptonite on him the last 5 or 10 fights of his career, but it definitely
It was
does
more than
not
that,
take
though.
the
It was.
light.
I
It
mean,
doesn't take the light. It doesn't take the light off of what he had done. Like what he had done
it
was
doesn't.
just
But here's the thing, right? If he'd have retired after he beat John Ruiz with the one
Mhm,
DQ loss to Montel Griffin on his card, he would
mhm.
be seen as absolute. I'm not saying some people don't see him as Mount Rushmore material anyway, but not everybody does. He would be seen indisputably so. Some people would be making arguments he was the greatest fighter of all time. That that
Sure.
elusive, perhaps
Yeah.
unattainable spot
Yeah.
ultimately.
I
Whereas they
I
don't
would,
still
I
say
would
that because of what
absolutely,
he did.
I would absolutely understand that too, because the things he was doing in the ring was just like it's bananas. It was
You did a
berserk.
really good article on him once, a really brilliant description. I can't remember, but you set out your article when you said try hitting a snare drum with this beat, then with your other hand, I want you to try and do this. I can't remember what it was, but you
Yeah.
you really summed up the stultifying brilliance of Roy Jones and how impossible it is to replicate with
and
that
I still
narrative.
think that he was possibly the greatest of all time, and I don't care about the losses.
But the thing
Because
is, what you're saying,
in his
Gary,
best, I don't know anyone who was better.
you're saying exactly what you mean is the best of all time. You don't mean the greatest. Greatest has other burdens on it, unfortunately. You mean you never saw a better fighting machine than that ever.
In
And
his
I've got no problem with that.
prime, when you can do
That's
what he
fair.
That's
did to
not the
James,
greatest though.
when you can do what he did to James Toney in his prime,
Sure.
make him look below average,
Yeah,
just
but that's
school
true.
him.
True.
I don't know anyone who had that kind of ability in his
Yeah.
when he was sailing higher than anybody, I think.
But
Yeah.
perhaps he was, but his achievements don't match some of the great immortal fighters over the years. And that's the thing. For Claude Abrams said, I never saw a better fighter than Roy Jones. End of. And I've got no problem with that. But I think there's a distinction between greatest. Greatest is more of a conundrum, and you've got to look at more. You've got to look at more factors than just saying I never saw anybody who was as brilliant as that. But that's fine. That in itself is a powerful testimony, and there's nothing wrong with it.
I tell you what, you know what happens, Gary. You know when you're a fighter, you're on your way up, and you always look at the names, and you're like, okay, I want to fight that guy next. He has a great name, and he's not what he was, and all the rest of that kind of stuff. But he's a great name. He would look great on my resume, right? So I remember my last fight I was fighting in Mobile, Alabama, and that's just a skip jump away from where Roy was living in Pensacola, Florida. And I went into this fight, and I'm going in, and I'm heading into the ring, and there's like some dignitaries there, and some fighters were there, and John Scully was there, but also Roy Jones was there. And I said to myself at that point, this is my last fight. I said to myself, am I really here already? I'm at that point. Like, whereas these young guys coming up, he must have been like 8-0 at the time. And he's looking at me and he's like, that's my next step, like this.
Yeah.
That's what was going through my mind, the way he was looking at me. And I was looking at him on my way to the ring. And I was just like, wow, this is madness. Like, and obviously after that
come
fight,
full circle.
it's come full circle. Yeah. And you just know it's like the what do you call it? The vultures are sitting up in the trees. They're looking at you and they're like, I said to myself, I'm not going to be on that dude's highlight reel. Because that's just that was just sick. Like his highlights of him knocking people out is just, it's kind of perverse.
We've had a comment which applies to everything we've discussed tonight. Really succinctly summed up, just in 2 words.
He says Ben's right.
that appertains to everything we've discussed the evening. I think. Anyway, that's the way I choose to interpret it. Yeah.
Yeah. What? Ben's right. Ben, was that it? That was it. That was
Ben,
it.
so Ben, I'll ask both of you a question. Forgetting the greatest effort or the best or the whatever, the way you defined it. If you could have the skill of any fighter that you've come across in your life or watched, if you could be as good as any of them in the greatest, who would you emulate, Ben?
Still got Ray Leonard.
I think I would, which is crazy. Who about you, Michael?
Boy, I mean, I think of Prime Ali and what he was able to do. I just think it's another level. But I also like Roy. Roy's left hook was like a jab. Like he was that accurate, and he would let it go that quickly and that easily. But he had that kind of power behind it. When I saw this kid in the Olympics, I was like, oh my God, this guy's insane. And so when I saw him coming up as a pro, and he fought some friends of mine as well, and I don't know, I was absolutely 100% impressed with what he was able to do. Like I said, he used, how we conventionally say the jab is the most important punch in boxing. For him, it wasn't so. It's like whatever will land will, and so he could throw anything. It could be a right uppercut from the outside, and he'll hit you with it, and you'll have no chance of countering it. Everyone says don't throw an uppercut from the outside. No problem, he'll make it happen. Double, triple left uppercuts, left hooks. Wait till you turn around after he hit you and crack you with 4 or 5 other shots. It's just like his fistic intelligence is just so superior to, like, you have so few people that have that kind of intellect.
And yet you call it intellect, and fistic intelligence, and yet when his amazing reflexes had dulled a bit, he was dramatically not as good. Whereas a guy like Hopkins, who didn't have that kind of flair and talent, had more better fundamentals and fistic intelligence. Because
I don't know if he had better fundamentals, but he definitely had more. He was aware of not getting hit. Like, not getting hit is not good for you. It's not healthy.
I think Hopkins had the longevity because he didn't need the reactions that Jones needed.
Exactly. Because if your defense is based on reflexes, you're going to have problems at a certain point.
I think what me and you fell in love with, Ben, was the whole thing with Leonard, meaning the style of him and the panache and the flair and the beauty of how he, I love the way he fought. I loved his style. I thought he was beautiful to watch.
The thing about Leonard, for me, even on his worst night, against Terry Norris, I was 21 years old when that happened. I remember watching it and thinking, I still see some glimpses of incredible class that nobody else has got. Even on this awful night when he took a beating from pillar to post, the guy who just beat him is not anywhere near as good as him, in actual fact. That's what I thought.
Sad night for me was, I think, Camacho.
That was worse. That was worse. But
horrible.
Gary, I saw there's a bit where Tony Ayala is fighting Mario Maldonado. I believe it was on the undercard of Ray Leonard versus Larry Bonds. In Syracuse, I believe it was. And as Tony Ayala, I guess, is coming out the ring or coming into the ring, whatever. They show Sugar Ray shadowboxing in his dressing room, just throwing a few punches. And I thought, you know what? It gives me such a thrill, even now at this age, to see him shadowbox and throw a few punches. And I was like, beautiful. I'd rather watch Ray shadowbox and watch a lot of fighters actually fight in the best fight
it's gorgeous to watch.
That's why.
The style, the balance, the movement, the speed.
The savagery. This is one of the most savage individuals, one of the most competitive men.
He's a pit bull with a pretty face.
Yeah. I mean,
when he got someone going, he went mental, didn't he? He'd go he was amazing.
But it's funny that someone just said about Angelo Dundee as Leonard's trainer, but I posted something the other day that said Angelo never really trained him in the gym. He said he wasn't his coach in the gym. He said what he was a 60-second guru. He was the best cornerman ever, and he said he was a great matchmaker. He said that's what he valued Angie for: corner and matchmaking.
I think he was a motivationalist, wasn't he? He would motivate.
He said he didn't. He said as a trainer, he said Angie did not come up with the master plans and a game plan. He said if I didn't have a game plan by the time Angie turned up, I was never going to get one. He said, it wasn't that. He was the best cornerman, right? And you heard that. You saw that one the other day, Silk, about I posted about how he said he didn't like Dundee yelling at him during the Dickie Eklund fight, and he
I
said,
saw that.
Yeah.
yeah, and he said, if I could, this reminds me of something that you might say, Silk. He said, if I could have found a way, I wouldn't have gone back to the corner at all. That's that really kind of passive objection. I can imagine you be like, if only there was a
Yeah.
way not to go back, I wouldn't even go back there. That
Yeah.
guy has not read me right. That's the end of it.
You know, the cornermen are such an important part of boxing. They really do. They really do have the ability to motivate you and get you to do things that you know how to do or you didn't think were possible to do. They can absolutely do that, and they're just so rare. They really are really rare jewels. When you have a good one, you better keep them because people. You have 60 seconds to get your message across, and you also want to hear back from your fighter, and it's just not the easiest thing to do. And a lot of trainers, you know, a lot of fighters falter because the trainers don't say the right things to them. You know, there's sometimes in a fight where you just say to the guy, listen, you know, like you just went through a hellacious round. Just take this round to cruise, just to watch this guy's hands, just to move around. Don't even try to engage. You know what I mean? Just take it off, like cruise for a second, and come back and reevaluate. Come back for the next round. That just use this one as kind of like you know, to get information. You know, cognizance. These kinds of things, like a reconnaissance mission, really. And trainers. I don't know. A lot of people don't look at it the same way. They feel like it always has to be, the pressure always has to be on. If you're not hitting the guy, you're losing. It's like, no, this fight is over a distance, and you have the ability to like change the tempo of the fight, and that's what you want to do. What you do change once you even if it's a matter of just going on defense for a while. You change the complexion of the fight, and you could change the outcome of the fight just by taking him off of the flow he's on, the path he's on, taking away a guy's momentum. It doesn't mean having to hit him, just frustrate him, cause him to hesitate. That's all it takes.
Well, Gervonta Davis is good at that, right? He's good at not necessarily throwing lots of punches if he doesn't feel like it. And then when he opens up, it's a serious thing. You know,
I think his IQ is underestimated. You know, he's very smart.
Oh, his fight
IQ
IQ is
a few weeks ago, you were saying he wasn't elite, and I was vehemently arguing that he was.
I don't know. I said his career victories have not proven to be elite yet. I'm not saying that he cannot go into that, but he hasn't beat anyone to become elite yet for me.
But most people regard him as one of the top half dozen fighters in the
world. I respect Sil's opinion of him. He loves him, and I do too. I just say I needs a few more high level victories to put him in that category.
I spoke to Rocky Marciano's nephew. I spoke to Rocky Marciano's nephew about him, and he said the kid's a fucking Lewis. You know Lewis, right? He said the kid's a fucking scientist. He was very high on him. You know,
really? Wow, I'm impressed. I like that.
Yeah, he said the kid is a fucking scientist, and you know he's so clever. He's so underrated in that sense, and he obviously is a massive puncher as well. With great variety of combination punches. I think Gervonta is a special fighter, as simple as that. I understand that he hasn't necessarily. When Gary talked about resume, you could make that argument that he hasn't necessarily got that elite resume yet, but I think he has elite skills.
Well, Shakur is another one who they're all so high on.
Yeah.
I haven't seen anything that impresses me yet.
No, I hear what you're saying.
But all the great trainers and fighters who are around the people, they all keep saying Shakur beats them all, which is fascinating to me because maybe they know something I don't see. But I think if Gervonta beats Shakur, and then maybe one more fighter, then he's in that list, you know. But he's got to have a couple of them. I think right now he's just cleaned up. Who's he beat? Ryan Garcia, yes, we know.
And he got the ban, by the way, of course, year ban. And you got Devin Haney saying he's looking to sue him because he says he's lost a lot of money over that debacle, which has now been declared a no contest. So he wants to sue him for brand damage. You know,
I agree with that. Why not?
What do you think, Gary?
You know, what do you think, Gary?
I think. I don't know.
Hey, come on! I mean, why not?
I don't know about
He said this has cost me a lot of momentum and everything.
His brand is definitely damaged. His brand will never be the same again.
I tell you what's sad. I mean, I don't think Haney will ever be the same again. I think every time he gets hit, it's over. But I don't think that's because of drugs.
No, it is
maybe
because
maybe not.
No, you think it's because of the amount of drugs in his system cannot help him in any way, shape, or form.
He keeps the thing is, Gary, I'm never sure of that because I'm not a scientist. They all say billionth of a gram, it wouldn't have done anything. But other people say, nah, that's just the arse end of whatever you were juicing like hell on.
Exactly. Come on.
Because they've got ways of flushing it out and they've got ways of minimizing it. And this time they didn't beat it
and
completely.
masking it. Yeah, again, masking it. Absolutely.
I don't think traces is enough. They're either banned substances, in which case it's a bit like saying, Gary Dobson, right, got convicted of Stephen Lawrence's murder from one tiny spot of blood that was like incredibly small. But it was still the blood, wasn't it? You know what I mean?
Yeah, it is what it is.
I'm disgusted if Garcia did it. For me,
but he did do it.
Well, physically, he doesn't look like a drug-using fighter for me. I don't think
what
he's.
What do they look like?
I don't think he's. Doesn't have that body type for me.
Well, like James Toney, he got popped and had a fight declared in no. And people looked at Tony's shape. I mean, and like, well.
At them lower weights, I think it's far more obvious. But
did you know that Martinez has just got a ban as well? You know the flyweight Julio Cesar Martinez, who savaged Charlie Edwards, but they declared that.
I mean, it's a sad state of affairs. If again, and
they do have to make the penalty fit the crime. I think they do have to do that. They have to make it hard for. If fighters really have to consider if you're going to try to do these kinds of things, if you're going to cheat, here's the other side of it. There has to be like
and he only got a 12-month ban retroactive, so he can fight again.
And 12 months ban is irrelevant. He only fights once a year anyway, So.
Exactly, and he can fight next April. From next April, he can fight again. So
yeah,
but
no, he's definitely.
Sid, I have met. I met Emmanuel Stewart for the first time. Yeah, when I was actually going to fight Tommy, and it was interesting because I was in a room by myself changing for the photographer. Tommy was in the other room changing. We were both going to do promotional pictures, and he walks into the room and he thinks he's going to do some sort of like psych job on me. Like I guess he was trying to do some sort of reconnaissance. He came in the room and I don't know. I was supposed to have a certain type of reverence, something, and obviously I respected him because of what he's been able to do with Kronk and the legacies he's created in boxing, and he is a great trainer, obviously. But he came in the room and he started kind of like asking me things, and I think right away he initially saw that I wasn't that dude who was going to be kind of like
viable.
Yeah, and he kind of walked out, and that was really about it. And I always thought it was really strange when he came in because it was just me and him in the room. He came in purposely with the intent of intimidating me or finding out where my head was at, that kind of thing. And generally, I'm the kind of guy that's like, if I don't understand something, I'm just going to look at you and let you talk. So I looked at him and I let him talk, and he just ran out of gas really quick, and he just left the room really uncomfortably. And that was really about it after that.
One would say he's only doing his job, so.
Yeah, I wasn't offended. I totally I understand.
Not a little bit too smart for that.
Yeah, I mean, we've all had these times, right, where where you're heading into a fight and you get a little bit emotional about things, and in retrospect, you wonder why you even got that way about it. You know what I mean? And emotions really do affect your fight going in. Like,
my best answer I ever had was I can't remember the fight. He told me he was going to knock me out in the third round, and he kept saying it all the time. And he said, "I've seen it." Third round. He said, "I've seen it. I've dreamt it." And he kept, and the final press conference, he said, "We're not." Same thing, we'll knock you out third round. I've seen it. And finally, this journalist said, "Do we have any response?" I said, "Yeah." He said, and it was the first time I responded to this. I said, "It's scientifically impossible that he knocks me out the third round. They said, "Why is it scientifically impossible?" I said, "He will not get to the third round." And I think I knocked him out in a round, but it was like one of them. I just saw he start thinking all the press he's put himself for third round. I said, "You won't get to the third round."
Yeah,
But,
don't be so optimistic.
With my
supposedly Ray Robinson touched gloves in the middle of a fight with some guy at the start of a round, and supposedly the opponent said, "What are you touching gloves for? It's not the last round." And Robinson supposedly said, "It is for you."
That's good.
Yeah.
I heard that's what they used to say about you, Ben. Seconds out, first and last round.
Yeah, that's what they used to say. The thing is, I said to you, I held the English knockout record for a while. I was out for like 48 hours.
Stop it.
But I was good at throwing eye-catching combinations, and my opponents always saw them coming.
I don't understand. I don't understand. I just don't understand. It's really perplexed me how you could hit somebody and not hurt them.
Yeah, I know that. Yeah, you do feel that way, don't you? But then remember Ricky Hatton, right? When he fought that guy Juan Lascano, the Hispanic causing panic, one of the best nicknames in recent years. and Ricky hit him with everything but the kitchen sink. It was at the big. It was at the City of Light Stadium, I think, isn't it, up north? So it was massive.
And Ricky was a puncher, right? Ricky was a puncher.
Well, he was quite a puncher. He was like he was a swarmer and an accumulation guy, but he could punch.
Oh, okay. Yeah.
He wasn't like a one-shot killer, but in any case, he was hitting, but he hit everything with but the kitchen sink at this guy, he threw. And the guy absorbed it all night, and it went 12 rounds. And Ricky said afterwards that he's getting changed, and he's talking to some other well-known people in the dressing room, and he said, "Does your fucking head in when you hit him with everything like that, and they still stand up?" He said, "It does your head in. You can't." He said, "What are you supposed to do?"
Yeah.
But I think you do get them fighters who just don't get stopped occasionally.
Yeah. Yeah, there's some like you have to find their soft spot. Like everyone has a sweet spot, right? Like I always thought Marvin Hagler's sweet spot was the point of his chin, but you could never get to it because he'd keep his chin down a lot, and he'd always fought here. You'd beat him about the head and everything, but you would never. Nobody ever really caught him like dead on that point of the chin.
One fighter who I saw hurt Hagler for a moment.
Who's that?
Minter.
Do you know what?
You think so?
Somebody the other day was trying to tell me that Minter
hurt him.
If he had not got cut, then he would have.
No, he got pulverized. But just before the cuts took massive, they get into an exchange in the middle of the ring, and Minter catches Hagler and rocks him. First time
I'm gonna have to watch this again.
He hits him with a shot, and he seems to fall backwards a bit. But I don't think
left hand shot. I think it was a left hand, but he rocked him for sure.
Yeah,
Hagler
but it was like a southpaw left hand. Yeah.
It didn't last long. But
I always wonder if because Hagler took such a great shot. I was wondering, like, when you get hit, sometimes you get that tuning fork, that sound in your head, right?
Yes,
that boom, like this.
Yeah.
I wonder if he ever felt things like that.
He must have done. Maybe when Tommy hit him, I'd have thought in the first round.
I think he had incredible mind, incredible condition, and he was and I think he expected the shot, so it was no surprises. He went straight at you and let's go. And I think he was just a formidable monster, Hagler. As much as he had a good IQ, I think
genetically he must have been just like he didn't have nerves in his chin or something. I don't know.
Yeah, he was just such a strong.
But one of the most durable fighters ever, when you look at his elite record and the hundreds of fights he had, was Kid Gavilan. Never got stopped.
Yeah,
hardly ever.
It's amazing.
Kid
in
Gavilan
those days too. In those days.
So, but I just wanted to say to Joe, by the way, who said, wasn't it Sam Langford who said it is the last round for you? Maybe they used the same line. It was definitely Robinson, the anecdote I read, but they probably said that about Langford too, because maybe some of these things get handed down the ages. Perhaps it wasn't true in either case. A lot of myths out there.
Perhaps both of them said it, one after the other.
Perhaps it's true in both cases, indeed. Joe says best chin was Oliver McCall. He's up there. He's up there. I think it's hard to say, isn't it? Ultimately, but
yeah, when you talk about chins, I also believe, and I know that I'm going to get some kickback on this. The best chin to have is not an indestructible chin. If you're a fighter and you have a chin where no one can dent, you're going to end up losing fights that you shouldn't be losing.
Because
I
you're too
just feel,
confident in it.
well, not even that you're confident, you're comfortable, it doesn't hurt. There's no sense like when you could be hurt, there's a sense of urgency, there's a sense of danger, there's a sense
You
of
also think
yeah,
you're going to have a lot of damage at the end of your career.
exactly. There's things that so as a fighter, if you can be, you have that sense of like I said, urgency, like you operate on a different level because you don't get casual about it. Well, guys who have brick chins generally, take good shots. They end up taking more good shots, basically.
Yeah.
So and so yeah. So it's look at guys. Who's the heavyweight that
Zavala?
Randy, the heavyweight who fought
Cobb.
Larry
Randall
Holmes.
Tex Cobb.
Randall Tex Cobb, yeah, and you know what I mean. It's like he took a great shot, yeah, an incredible shot, but he just took too many. He doesn't work on the defensive skills or more on his offensive skills. He just absorbs, and that's what happens when you take a great shot. You tend to, you go with your greatest skill, your greatest attribute, and that attribute isn't necessarily a winning attribute.
No.
And agreed, yeah, Fabian Ali took way too many shots at the end. I think he discovered when he came back that he could really take a shot, and he kind of like he took the short road. But not only that, I think when he had to sit out for 3 years, that really mitigated or like shortened a lot of his abilities. Like it erased a lot of his abilities to move continually, perpetually the way he used to. That takes an insane amount of energy, and he wasn't the
Conditioning.
same weight anymore. Yeah, the conditioning it takes is just
Yeah.
listen. COVID happened, right? And I was before COVID, I was sitting at like, I don't know, 5% body fat still. After COVID happened, no matter what, I cannot get back to that same body type that I was before. And that was just what was it, about a year and a half? It was a year and a
Yeah.
half.
Strange time,
So
but it was like,
yeah, yeah. It takes you out of the way you naturally operate.
It's
And once you
inactivity. It's a
yeah,
hiatus. Yeah.
yeah, and once you change how you operate, your body adapts and adjusts to this new way, and that's your body's going to reflect that lifestyle. And that's what happened with Ali. His abilities, his body adapted to that way of doing it. And if there was a sense of urgency, I guess, where he was thrown into the position whereas he had to always train like he did beforehand, he would have got all those abilities back. But there was no sense of that wasn't expected of him, and that's not what he wanted to do, so he didn't do it. And I think that's why he had problems that he ended up having later on, like with Joe
sure.
Frazier and Ken
For sure.
Norton and all the rest of that. He
But,
didn't put in the same amount of work. No, absolutely not.
we've been on for like over 90 minutes now. Are we ready to call it?
Oh my God! Yeah, we better call it.
We can have a brief chat backstage if anybody fancies it. But guys, thank you for tuning in. Sorry we don't get to all these questions. We've only got 3 of us on. It's just impossible to include everything into the flow of a smooth running show. I can see they're still making really interesting comments as we're closing out now. And at some point I'll flash them up, but we have to leave the party and leave them wanting more. We'll be back Sunday. Hopefully, well, let's see if Gary gets it right again and me and Silk both get it wrong. Ree Rodriguez versus Estrada. Keep spreading the word.
Because wait a minute, because I'm ahead right now, right?
Yeah, feel free to jam the fucking ending with that needless 3 points of information.
No, Snip, people need to know.
Yeah, I can mute him if I wanted to. I'm just not going to do it with disrespect to him. I can mute him and just make my close nice, smooth close without, you just see his pretty face and that'd be the end of it. But no, guys, you're still mad for it. You're still buzzing. You're still making loads of comments. We can't take them now. We will be back on Sunday. Spread the word. Like, subscribe. Peace out.
And we'll answer those questions.
We will.